This is Tile Mike, and today we're going to replace a shower pan. We removed our bronze door frame. We'll replace that when we finish up. We're going to remove the curb, front, top, and inside. We'll remove the floor, put a new square bronze drain in, and remove one tile around the edges. They're having a lot of water hold in the grout joints, so we'll take a look there, and that's probably because the pan is not sloped itself, and we'll show you that in another segment. Hello, I'm Tile Mike, and today we're replacing the shower pan. One of our first steps is to go ahead and cut along the joint at this full tile here. We use a side grinder with a 4-inch segmented blade, and we'll first cut just the depth of the tile, take it off, and then the Durock will cut a little bit lower so we can have a seam that the tile can cross. So there'll be a Durock seam somewhere in here. So we're going to go ahead and cut this, and we'll start taking this out, and then we'll show you when we cut our backer board. Hello, this is Tile Mike again, and we're at our second stage of our removal of our bottom cores. We had a pretty tough time with this area, but we cut all along that edge. We had to go all the way through to the Durock. This stuff was had a really good adhesion, so it was very difficult. As you can see, this is the existing pan that's in there now. Our next step is to go ahead and clean this edge really good, so when we put our backer board back in there, we got a nice smooth transition. Then we'll start removing our floor, and we will check to see if the previous contractor put a mortar bed under the pan, because they've got some water staying in the grout joints, and a lot of time that means that water is weeping back up through the joints. So in our next segment, we'll remove the 4x4 tumbled stone floor, and we'll check our pan installation. Hello, this is Tile Mike again, and what I want to show you today, we're doing a pan replacement. If you'll zoom in right here, you can see right now the existing pan that's in, we have not removed it yet. You're basically level. Well, this is the improper way to install a pan. The back of that pan, you need to have some slope, so when water penetrates the grout joints and gets passed through your bed, it needs a place to go. So water needs to be able to roll down the pan. And there's supposed to be some weep holes here, and they're here, but they're clogged up. These are weep holes. There's these little holes here, one here, one here, one over here, one on the other side. Well, they're clogged up now, and the way we eliminate that problem when we put our mortar bed against the drain is to put some little pebble rock, and that kind of filters the mud so water can get through there and weep into those holes. So what we'll do, we're going to remove this pan, and we're going to put a sub base of cement and sand and pitch it probably about 1/4 inch a linear foot. Also, another thing the previous tile contractor did in error is on the curb. As you'll see, he has nails. He had backer board on his curb, and the curb was not sloped into the shower, and it should be, but he's penetrated his pan, and this causes a problem with water getting down to your curb area. Also penetrated the front. We do not do that. We're going to put the pan in, wrap the curb 100%, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put a metal lab formed to the shape of the curb, and then we'll use a mortar, cement, sand, and lime mortar, and form that curb without any penetrations with screws or nails. We'll pitch into the shower with it, and we'll probably do that today. So the next step, we're going to pull all this out, clean the edges, get it really nice and clean in here, apply our sub base for our pan, we'll let it dry, and then we'll place our pan in there, tuck our corners, and then seal that at the bottom, at the drain, and then we'll go ahead and start doing our curb work. So you'll probably see that in our next segment. Hello again, this is Tile Mike, and now we've gotten our pan out of our shower. We discovered some damage on the curb, and this is a result of the previous contractor penetrating the pan with these holes where he was attached his backer board, so water has gotten to the curb. So we're going to replace these top 2 layers. Looks like that bottom layer is fine. We're going to replace these top 2. This is just a surface water problem. This is what happens a lot of times when the pan is not sloped. Water finds a way, it sits, and it's created a water stain. Anymore, we'd have to replace the entire subfloor here. Also, what we like to do is we like to clean out and vacuum all these areas in here, because once you put your pan in and you have some hard material fall behind the pan, that can create a pressure point on the pan, and as you stand in the shower and that pan moves, that little rock that might be behind that pan can cause a penetration and cause a leak later on. So we like it to be very, very clean all around the edges, because when you start hammering or screwing in all your backer board, those items will fall behind the pan material back here in the seals. So on our next segment, we're going to go ahead and have this curve replaced, and we're going to start our sub base for our. This is Tile Man Mike again, and now what we're doing is preparing for our sub base. We're going to apply a multi-purpose setting mortar prior to putting in the cement and sand bed. I just use a notch trowel. So the mortar bed will stick well to the wood. What we're going to do, we're going to pitch when we bring our mortar in here, probably from about 1 inch down to about 1/4 here at the drain. And this is for under the pan. I'll make that very clear. This is for under the pan. Good bond so that mortar bed under the pan will not move. This gives it a good bond. You really want to make sure you got plenty around here around this drain because it's going to be thinner. And of course, after we put our pan in, we'll do another mortar bed to stick our tile to, or a tumbled stone on this particular project. Okay, we'll finish this up, applying this. We're going to go ahead and throw a little mud on that here in a little bit, and we'll start that in our next. This is Tile Man Mike again, and now we're doing our sub base. It's a 4-to-1 mix. That's 4 sand to 1 cement. It's a damp portion. If you take it, it's like a snowball. It's damp, but it's not real wet like concrete would be, and it's easier to work that way. And we're going to put about 1/2 to 3/4 inches of fall from the corners. So we'll probably be about 1 inch around the edges. So I'm laying it on my thin set, and it'll bond to that overnight. That seal right there is about 1.5 inches. So I need to probably be about 1 inch, about 1/2 inch below the edge on the back. Kind of beat that down a little bit. And as we get closer to the drain, we're going to be coming down a little bit. Now what we're going to do, we're going to cover up that hole in that drain before we get too close, because we don't want any of our material to fall down in our drain. It really takes some time to really learn the mud set system to be able to work it properly and have the pitch. Okay, and what I'll do, I'll finish spreading the rest of my setting mortar, my multi-purpose setting mortar, and I'll finish up the bed. And once this dries, we'll be ready to install our pan. And then after that, we'll put our backer board in, lay our tile, lay our floor tile, and our curb. Hello, this is Tile Man Mike, and we're back at our shower pan that we worked through yesterday. What we're going to do today is we've already got our pan in. We put our 1/2 inch backer board in. We've got the slope under the pan, so this has about a 1/2 inch to 5/8 inch slope to the drain. And what we're doing now, we're putting what we call a boot on the edges, because to be able to fold this, you have to cut it at the seam. So we put a little boot here, and then we take a little bit of silicone, and we make sure that we got a good seal there. And then, of course, the backer will go here. This will be a mud bed on this, which we'll show you that here in a little bit. And you see I have my screws at the top. And what we've got here is we have a pre-molded area for your pan. And I've bent it so when we put it over the pan, it's going to be snug, very snug to it. And the only place that you really even need any screws, if you're going to do any, is on the outside. And then we'll use a mixture of cement, sand, and lime, which is really just a block mortar mix, and we'll form it and we'll pitch it into the shower floor, so water will roll off that when it hits the door, the bottom of the door seal. So we'll show you that on our next segment. This is Tile Man Mike again, and we're in some of our latter stages of our installation on our pan. If you'll take a look in the shower, we've already laid our 13 by 13 on the walls. We've got that spaced up above the mud floor, so when we run our tumbled, it's going to slide under those tiles. That'll be drying a little bit and we'll mud that, but what I want to show you here is how we do our curbs. And in earlier segments, I showed that we don't penetrate with screws or nails. We've formed lab, and this is called a scratch coat, which is applied, and we let it dry for a little while. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and thin set the back of this board here. This is going to be the top of our curb. The reason I do this is because when the mud starts drying, I can just set right on top of the Durock, and it's going to bond to the mud. I don't have to pull my forming. This is basically to form the top of your curb, but it's also going to become the top of the curb. You pull it off, it'll destroy your bed, and we're trying to set it all today. And we're going to go ahead and pre-stick that. And then our next move, what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and apply our mud to the top of our curb. Basically, it's the same mortar that you would set concrete block or brick with. It's a little stickier, it's got lime in it. And what we want to do with our curb, we want to make sure that we have a slope on our curb into the shower. And it gets a little messy, it's okay, this stuff cleans up real easy with a sponge and water. I just kind of ease those edges like that, each side. Set that Durock piece in there, and I'll be able to form the top of that curb and get the pitch on the curb that I want. Okay, then we pre-thin set it. That way when that dries, that thin set's bonded to the backer board. I pre-cut this piece. Okay. We'll see what kind of step we have on the outside. Right now we're under a 6, which is just about right. We can actually go down a little bit. And we'll tilt that into the shower where we've got probably about an 1/8 to 3/16 of a pitch. And then we'll finish the front and back of the curb up, and then we'll pull our floor mud.